What's up for February? This month, we follow the moon to 3 different points of interest in the winter sky. First up, excitement about the red planet is building as NASA prepares to land its latest rover there, called Perseverance, on February 18th. You'll find Mars high in the west after sunset all month long. It should be visible all evening, setting around or soon after midnight local time. On the night of NASA's planned Mars landing, you'll find the half-full moon right next to the red planet. So go out and have a look with your own eyes, especially if you were one of the nearly 11 million people whose names traveled to Mars with Perseverance, etched into one of 3 microchips. Staying with the moon in February, it next drifts through a part of the sky that contains a familiar pattern of stars, also called an asterism. This is the winter circle or winter hexagon, a ring of 6 bright stars that spans a very wide region of the sky. The winter circle contains 2 other special groupings of stars, the constellation Orion, and another wintertime asterism, the winter triangle, made of the bright stars Sirius, Betelgeuse, and Procyon. Like their counterpart, the summer triangle, the winter circle and winter triangle are signposts of the season. In the northern hemisphere, you'll see them rising in the east early in the evening during the time of long, cold nights, and setting in the west earlier and earlier as the season turns to spring. Watch on February 20th through the 22nd as the moon moves across the winter circle, growing a bit fuller each evening. Finally, the moon continues on its journey, visiting the twins of Gemini. Unlike asterisms, Gemini is one of the 88 official constellations used by astronomers to help them describe the locations of objects in the sky. The 2 bright stars, Castor and Pollux, form the heads of the inseparable twins from Roman and Greek mythology for which the constellation is named. On February evenings, Gemini is located high overhead in the south. On the 23rd, the moon is here, just below Pollux. NASA also has a history with Gemini, as it was the name of the human spaceflight program in the 1960s that tested technology and capabilities in preparation for the Apollo missions to the moon. But while the constellation is pronounced Gemini, not everyone knows that the name of the NASA program was usually pronounced Gemini within the space agency. However you want to pronounce it is fine. Just make sure you go out and catch the moon's visit with Gemini on the 23rd. Here are the phases of the moon for February. You can catch up on all of NASA's missions to explore the solar system and beyond at nasa.gov. I'm Preston Dykes from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and that's what's up for this month.
Astronomers have discovered evidence of the first light from some of the first stars among the farthest and oldest physical objects in the universe. Using a simple radio antenna and a great deal of careful measurement, they have effectively seen farther back than even the Hubble Space Telescope. These stars emerged from the smoldering embers of the Big Bang. They lit the sky for the first time, and the early cosmos began to transform from an era of pitch black emptiness astronomers call the Dark Ages into the brilliant menagerie of galaxies, stars, and planets that we now recognize. Their discovery was not done with a huge complex observatory, but with this, an antenna not much larger than a tabletop. More than 12 years ago, a small team of investigators, including Alan Rogers and Judd Bowman, a graduate student at the time, realized that such an antenna, coupled with an exquisitely sensitive receiver, could probe the early universe. As a postdoc, Judd proposed to the National Science Foundation to build this experiment. The foundation took a risk on this innovative idea. For Alan, here was a challenge that would test his experience making sensitive radio wave measurements against a signal that some experts thought would be impossible, too faint to find. Alan disagreed. He thought it could be done. Before the first stars, the universe was dark, cold, a tenuous and unlit gas of mostly hydrogen awash in a sea of background radiation, a cosmic afterglow from the Big Bang that included some radio waves. Astronomers theorized that starlight from the first stars to light up the universe would excite this hydrogen gas and cause it to absorb the surrounding radio waves at one particular frequency. Problem is, due to the expanding universe, this absorption would be observed at some lower frequency, unknown. Finding that frequency, finding the absorption that comes when the first stars turn on would be like listening to every station on your car stereo at once and being able to tell that your favorite one is missing. Allen and Judd realized that a small team armed with their single antenna and sensitive receiver might be enough to detect the signal not from a particular direction, but averaged over the whole sky. They would need to set up in a remote place, far from radio interference. So they traveled to the desert of Australia to deploy their antenna and listen to the sky. But even in such a pristine location, this signal is fantastically faint. Our galaxy alone is booming with radio wave noise 10,000 times louder than any faint whisper from the distant universe. For Allen, Judd, and their team, finding the impact of the first stars and that cacophony would be like trying to hear the flap of a hummingbird's wing from inside a hurricane. After several years of improving their apparatus, they found hints of a signal in early 2016. But given the excruciating challenge of a detection, how could they be sure it was real? Good science is an adventure, but it is also careful, methodical. So the team spent more than a year ruling out other possible explanations for what they had found. They expanded the ground plane beneath their antenna. They deployed a second antenna. They changed its orientation. They improved the calibration. They even ruled out interference from the sun and the moon. In the end, their detection remained. It was real. With this new discovery to guide them, large research collaborations will hunt for and study variations in the hydrogen signal and map the early universe in minute detail. These experiments will use arrays of hundreds of antennas and complex data processing and hundreds of hours of observing. Those collaborations were conceived before knowing for sure if that signal could ever be found, and if so, at precisely what frequency. Now, thanks to Allen, Judd, and their team, they know. Astronomers are filling in a missing chapter in how the universe evolved from the Big Bang. We are piecing together how, over billions of years, matter evolved from this into this. In a surprise twist to the story, the signal this team has found is twice as large as models predicted, meaning that absorbing gas in the early universe was colder than we thought possible. Could dark matter provide an explanation? Maybe. Either way, with this discovery, now we know when the universe emerged from the dark ages into cosmic dawn.
We come from space. That is where the ingredients for everything you see and touch were made. Every element in the periodic table. Their origins track the evolution of our universe. In its earliest moments, the cosmos is so hot it is ingredients only, energy and the most fundamental building blocks of matter. In those first hot moments, protons and neutrons formed and then merged into the first elements. Hydrogen is the first, a single proton that will later play host to a simple electron. It is the most common element in the universe, and all of it is created in the first 3 minutes. It is at this time that most of the universe's helium also emerges, along with a minuscule fraction of lithium. After a few 100 million years, clouds of diffuse hydrogen gas condense into the first stars, massive by today's standards. They live fast, die young, and begin to seed the universe with many elements of the periodic table. As those first massive stars age, grow old, and die, new stars form in their wake, including less massive stars more familiar in the canvas of the night sky. Generations of stars follow, changing the elements' abundances as they cycle through their lives. At stellar cores, under intense heat and pressure, hydrogen atoms fuse into helium. Over time, heavier elements form, from the carbon that will one day enable life to the iron in our blood and skyscrapers' steel. These reactions produce energy that supports the stars against their own gravitational collapse and make the stars shine. When their fuel runs out, they explode in supernovae. For some, incredibly dense neutron stars are left behind, while others collapse even further into black holes. Some stars are born as twins, partners who orbit each other from birth and live out their lives together. If they become neutron stars and eventually collide, they explode and create even heavier elements, such as gold, platinum, and even uranium. But even after such catastrophic events, the periodic table is still not complete. To create several of the remaining elements requires extreme environments, such as those surrounding supermassive black holes that lie at the heart of many galaxies. Surging forth in opposite directions from the superheated material surrounding the black hole are cosmic rays, protons and heavier elements accelerated to near the speed of light. Colliding with other elements, cosmic ray fission produces most of the low-mass boron, as well as beryllium and some lithium. Within several hundred million years, all the elements of the natural world have appeared, and now continuously recycle and reprocess. All the elements of galaxies, comets and asteroids, planets, and life. Now we, like the stars, can create elements, even ones that never existed on Earth before, like fleeting oganesson, which holds a massive 118 protons in its nucleus, although only for fractions of a millisecond. It is the heaviest element known, until the next generation of scientists finds yet others, and the periodic table continues to grow.